This one is called the pants. Take 8.
Yoga! Woo!
Welcome to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, the best-looking guys on the radio.
Welcome to Funniest Thing
with Darrell and Ed.
Weekend Edition.
Oh, yeah.
We call it Weekend Edition because even if you listen during the week,
yes,
it'll feel like the weekend.
That's right. And every week we do this show, and inevitably there's stuff that we either forget to talk about on the show, or there's just not enough time to talk about all the exciting, funniest things that have been happening.
Well, actually, I realized every week you probably do the same thing. I really do 3 shows, even though people think we only do 1 show.
Right.
Because there's the show that I think we're going to do.
Yes.
Then there's the show we actually do.
Correct.
And then there's the show that I wish we did.
That's a good point. And then there's also sometimes the crappy one that our head thinks we did.
Oh my God, and then we listen to the show and we realize, holy cow, that was better than I expected.
Yeah, that kind of ties in, because this week's show was all about boldness, and how real boldness is having the humility to really know that God is in charge, and to, when we're tempted to be afraid or we're in doubt, to actually be bold enough to still trust that that everything's still flowing, life is still flowing in a positive direction. And if we just do some simple things like a gratitude list, or like Darrell says, that do something that serves other people.
Yes.
Because I was thinking about how important that was for me this morning. I was thinking about you saying that when I was out surfing. Because for me, when I'm surfing, if I get greedy and it's all about me, I never have as much fun as if I'm sending love. It was because I saw a guy out there, the best surfer out there, we call him the Shredder. But he was so positive, encouraging everyone else.
That's why he's the best surfer.
Exactly. And so it made me think of you. So I wanted to so those little things that keep us in the flow, that's boldness.
Yes. And it's funny because it's the last thing we think we should do.
Yeah.
When we're pursuing our dreams, is take time out to help somebody else, because I'm busy. I got to pursue. Once I reach my dream, then I'll help people out.
Yes.
Then I'll be in a position to help out. But that's not how it works.
Totally. And inevitably, when I'm feeling that way, where it feels like I need to take like drastic action, or what was Anthony Robbins calling it? The
massive decisive action.
I have to look inside, because at those moments, I personally have discovered that I always believe that I'm not living in a friendly universe. If I think I need to break down a wall or something like that, God, in this harmonious flow that we're talking about, never asks me to break down walls. Usually he says, no, Ed, there's a door right around over here that you can go. You don't need to break down the wall.
Well, and speaking of doors and humility, that's the perfect segue to some of the things we missed that we wanted to share. One of which is there's this young guy new to Los Angeles who I'm working with, encouraging him.
Yes.
He's 23 years old, and he came out here to pursue his dream of acting.
Yes.
Yeah, he has a degree in theater and business.
Great guy.
Great guy. So the other morning, last week or a week or 2 ago, he said, you know what? I have this hunch that maybe I want to work as an agent for actors instead of being an actor.
Yeah. We just wanted to put in a little point here, is that a lot of times we think we should be going somewhere, or we're going in a direction that used to feel good for us, but it evolves into something different. In his case, an agent. And we were just talking to the chef over at the New School of Cooking here in Culver City.
That's right. Which is a very similar story.
Yeah.
He came out here, even went to film school, and he was a screenwriter. He said, I'm going to be a screenwriter.
And he was doing well at it.
Yeah, he was doing well and transcribing English screenplays into Spanish screenplays.
Yes.
He's from Argentina.
Yes.
So, but he said, I wasn't really happy.
Yes.
And his mind kept saying, no, but I have a good screenplay, and what if it hits? I don't want to miss out.
And people keep telling me how funny I am. Remember he mentioned that, and everyone's saying how great it is that I'm doing this.
Yes, and we get dialed in. We lock ourselves into, I better stick with this, even though we're beyond the point of it feeling good.
Right. And but inside he really wanted to get into cooking. His dream is to have his own restaurant. And now he continues to transcribe the scripts, translate them, to earn the money to allow him to go to cooking school and pursue that other dream. And he said now he's actually happy.
Yes, because he says, I thought I was going to be a screenplay writer, but really that was just going to be my enjoyable bread and butter job until
Right.
I can open up my own restaurant, which
Yeah.
really makes me happy.
Yeah.
And I even complimented him. I said, you know what? It's miraculous that you were able to let go of your
Yes.
ego, because that's being bold. And it's funny, once we're humble enough to go with God's will, the
Yeah.
magic happens.
Yes.
And what happened with this young guy that I was talking about is, he said, you know, I'm thinking about being an agent. And I go, funniest thing.
Yes.
And the two of us were in the car, and we were driving right by my agent's
Right.
office, just by coincidence.
That's amazing.
And I said, you know, I could talk to her and you could intern with her, and she's one of the best.
Yes.
But funniest thing, prior to this, I had gotten her 2 previous interns.
Right. Right.
Through friends in these similar situations. And thank goodness, or it was meant to be, but both of those people turned out to be great performers for her.
Yeah.
So she loved them.
Right.
And then they both went on to be successful in the entertainment business in a relatively short period of time.
Right.
So I was letting him know this. I said, so she will trust my recommendation.
Yeah.
And he was so flattered.
And I was going to say, that's an example of, if he had thought, oh, I'm going to be an agent, now I'm just going to break through the wall to become one, he could have missed out on the door.
Or why tell me? I'm not going to tell this guy. He's got nothing to do with the entertainment business.
Yeah, exactly, which is all part of the mindset of, I know where I'm going, and like pretending, like out of fear. But all the while, God's like, unbeknownst to him, there's a door right next to him in you.
Oh, but here's where my sick head.
Yeah.
So as I'm telling him, there's this little part of my voice going, yeah, you send her good interns, but she probably doesn't respect you as an actor.
Oh my gosh,
because
I hear
you
you.
haven't booked any commercials lately that she sent you out on. You know what? I just kept tossing that to the side.
Yes.
And this is the other thing, like you said earlier, that helps me. I just got back into, wait a minute, I'm more excited about sharing his information
Yes.
on an email to my agent
Yes.
to do this, and it lifted me again.
Yes.
I get home that same night, and I almost couldn't believe it, because I get these emails occasionally, and it was for a audition through my agent for the very next day.
The very same agent.
The very same agent.
Amazing.
And it was like, so I let this young fellow know. I said, you know what? We were talking about my agent so much.
Yeah.
And I was explaining how, your word is your wand. And because I was thinking so much about contacting her just for you on your behalf,
Yeah.
I ended up getting called into this audition.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So that leads us back to the next part of the funniest story
God.
with this young man, because he was at work the next day.
Oh,
and
God.
he decided to reach out and talk to someone, or someone started talking to him.
Chit chat. But before I tell that, this is the importance of not needing to break through walls. You got to do a morning routine.
Oh, yes. Very important.
And we talk about this all the time because, I was thinking about it. When you're hungover, the next day you feel so hard. I mean, when you're hungover in the morning from a night of drinking,
Yeah.
you feel so horrible. And then someone's, well-intentioned will say, have a shot of the hair of the dog that
Yeah.
bit you. And you have a shot of booze and you're like, wow, this really does work. I'm not
Yeah.
as nauseous. I'm feeling better.
Right.
Well, I realized that's the same thing with our morning routine.
Yes. That's so true.
Yeah, in the morning I have to renew my contract with God on a daily basis.
Yes. And it doesn't take a lot.
No, because God does the work.
That's right.
All I have to do is be willing to take some time out to be kind to myself before I start doing my to-do list and racing around.
Yeah.
And starting to think of what I got, pushing and shoving.
Yeah, because for me, my mind tends before, I may have like a moment of peaceful thinking sometimes while my eyes are closed, but usually before my eyes open, there's something already worrisome going on inside my head. So I really need to get to my sofa and start reading and, meditating, even just for 7 minutes, like Darrell always says.
Yes.
And it's like, it's amazing how much work I've saved myself by, this isn't a scary world, it's a loving world. And even if it only lasts for a few minutes, like Darrell and I always says, it gives us a standing chance for the rest of the day. When doubts do come up, we have a better chance of getting back in the flow.
And more importantly, without us knowing it, even if we're not in our perfect mind, right? After our morning routine meeting, we're not going, and things don't bother us. Like, we're still a little bit
Yeah.
not 100% Zen-like. Doesn't matter, because we reconnected with God, we plugged in to the source.
Yes.
Funniest things happen
That's
because
right.
God is great. It's grace.
Yes.
It's not earned.
That's true.
But
well, yeah, and that's part of what helps us keep going back into it, is because you forget about it. You may think you're starting to have a bad day, but all of a sudden, some funniest thing will come along, the right person, and then that's true. When we meditate later and read in the morning, I think we tap into the creative mind of God and start making withdrawals from our account.
It's just, you know what it's like? It's like being on an up escalator.
Yeah.
It's like the morning routine gets me on the up escalator.
Yes.
And as I'm going on the up escalator, I could all of a sudden start thinking, oh, wait a minute, I didn't do something right the other day. But you know what? I'm still on the up escalator.
Good point. That's
what it does. And a perfect example. So I told this young guy to start doing a morning routine, and he was a little reluctant, like all of us. I got stuff to do, or he has the wrong idea, thinking he's got to do an hour in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So bottom line is, he starts doing his morning routine, and I told him, I go, if you start doing this morning routine, just like what was told to me, in 30 days you will be amazed at the wonderful things that'll happen in your life.
Yes.
And then I panic always, and I go, what if wonderful things don't happen in 30
hear
days?
you.
But I go, wait a minute, no. God does the work, and if you do a morning routine, I guarantee you a 7-minute morning routine, or, however long is comfortable that you can do consistently, that you don't turn into a chore, I guarantee it. Things will transpire for the better in your life. And sure enough, like you said, this guy, his name's Michael, so it'll be easier to tell this story. Michael goes to work. This is the guy who wanted to be the agent, let go of his ego about having to be the star, the actor.
Right.
And a lady shows up. He works the counter at a chicken restaurant. Lady comes up and starts talking to him, small talk, and he tells why I'm here. And she goes, oh, wow. Well, what have you been doing? And he said, well, I'm just getting started out here. And he tells that he's from Milwaukee. He went to the University of Milwaukee, I guess. And she said, oh my God, you should get in touch with. And she rattles off this big time producer out here because he went to the same school.
Right.
Well, he's doing his routine. And he's so going with the flow. Instead of ego blowing it to the side.
Yes.
He's like, all right, like Mr. Magoo style. I'll go in that direction. So he finds the number to the guy's office, the producer's office. Gets through to the assistant,
right?
And the assistant asks, "Okay, what are you calling about?" And he tells the story. Well, you're probably gonna think this is odd, but I work in a chicken restaurant. Tells her the whole thing. I went to the same school as your boss, and I thought, why not give a call? And I just want to ask him if. She goes, well, what business? He goes, well, I'll just ask him a few questions about getting started, if that's okay. She says, fine. I'll take down your information. She didn't hurry him off the call or slam the phone down. So he calls me and tells me, oh my God, you're not going to believe it. Funniest thing.
Yes.
Shares this story. I go, great. That's fantastic. It was the day we did the show.
That's right.
We did the show, and then later that night, I get a call back from Michael.
Yes.
He goes, I got to call you. You're not going to believe what just happened. And he was even talking fast like he had been in a car accident.
Right.
And I said, what happened? He goes, well, I was on the bus. He takes the bus to his chicken job.
Yep.
And the chicken restaurant. He's on the bus coming home. And he said there was a small car accident. And I go, oh, here we go.
Right.
But that's not what he was talking about. He goes, the car accident slowed down the bus. We had to wait for a considerable period of time. So everyone on the bus starts talking to each other. The lady sitting next to him strikes up a conversation and leads to, what are you doing out here? And he said, well, I came out to be an actor, but now I'm thinking about becoming an agent. And then she asked, well, a lot of people say that, but have you done anything about it?
Yeah.
You could get hit with that one, and you're like, uh-oh. And he goes, yeah, funniest thing, you're not going to believe it.
Right.
And he starts joyfully telling her about how this morning, the whole story that he called this producer's office.
Yes.
And she goes, wait a minute, did you talk to his assistant named so-and-so?
Yeah.
And he goes, Michael's like, yeah, how do you know his assistant? And she goes, well, I'm that producer's private masseuse.
That's
I see him
amazing.
every week. I'm his massage therapist.
Wow.
And he was like, oh my God. And she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And they were both so enthusiastic about this whole funniest thing coincidence.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to come of it?
Yeah.
But the main thing that's come of it is Michael is now 100% convinced that
Yes.
A, the morning routine really does work.
Yes.
B, you don't need to push and shove. We live in a friendly universe full of these incredible
Yes.
coincidences when we just go with the flow
Yes.
and trust in God
Yes.
and don't stick to our egos
Yes.
and let go and surrender to it all.
Yes.
And I'm just grateful because you and I love hearing these stories,
We
to
do
be
love
part
hearing
of it,
this, yes.
even just to hear this.
And I love, see, I love what you said about teaching this kid. I mean, you encouraged him to do the morning routine, and you guaranteed it would work. And then you had your doubts, and that's why I love the service I do with the kids too, where I encourage them. I was working with a high school kid, and he was in a heap of trouble, potentially. And I also was encouraging him just do. It wasn't necessarily the morning routine, but I was just telling him remain open that something good can happen.
Oh, good.
And I had the same kind of thoughts, but. The best part was I had the same kind of doubts. I mean,
No, I hear you. Like you were probably thinking, because I've done that too. You're thinking, just remain positive. But what if something positive doesn't happen? What if he gets hit with a shitstorm?
And I was thinking the best part is when it does work, it reinforces that faith for me.
Yes.
And because it's like being. Then this is what leading me to the next part I was going to say about the morning routine and how important that part is, because we start by reading positive things. And if you want to read positive readings and you don't know what to read, go to www.goodreads.com/Darrell and Ed. All the books we read are listed there with a link to like Amazon or some seller where you can buy. Some of these books are 1 cent plus shipping and handling. It's amazing. So you can go there, to goodreads.com, to get that. But what happens is you start, because we're like, even if we don't know it, we start being more receptive to when the little hunches, when the little conversation starts out. We start to go in the direction of things that feel good. And because we like prepare our mind.
We prepared our minds.
Yeah, it's like we more naturally go with the conversation instead of going like, no, I don't have time for this conversation. We say, no, this feels good. I'm going to stay with this conversation. And that's when all the funniest things start to happen. So that's another reason to do the morning routine.
And being humble also. I mean, being bold is living, is making humility a way of life.
Yes.
Because if this guy didn't have that job at the chicken restaurant, was refusing to take the bus, I'm tired of taking the bus, or any other baby thing we could make up, I'm too good for this, he would have never been on that bus to meet this lady. I mean, it's like the universe conspires in our favor when we just do what's in front of us to do to meet our to meet our needs or our monthly budget.
Yeah, if he had treated this whole new agent idea like it was the life preserver instead of just another like God is the life preserver. That's the main thing. If he had treated this job, this idea, like it was God, and then he was gonna, I'm never gonna ride the bus again from now on. I'm gonna spend this amount of time each day being in whatever, doing that. Instead of, no, I'm gonna keep blessing my job in the meanwhile and taking the little inspired steps. He would never have had those experiences.
You're bringing up a good point, because I know people have taken jobs as PAs, production assistants on films, and done extra work if they wanted to be an actor, thinking like, I'm not going to work in a restaurant, I'm going to go work here. But because now, like, that may appear as bold and heading towards your dream, but you're really moving in that direction out of this self-will, propelled out of some way. You're going to wrestle the universe to correspond with your will of what you think is going to make it work. And God will find you once you can let go of that. God found this guy on a bus. God found this guy at a chicken restaurant working the counter, conspiring to bring him closer to what he feels is his heart's desire at this time. God found me, and then bringing me all the way out here from New York at a doorman job I almost didn't take. So it's like, we just need to keep showing up and trusting in God. And that's being bold. And it will correspond. Like, the good you seek is seeking you when we're just humbly going about our routine.
Sometimes the smart idea is actually the most fear-based idea. When Darrell and I always encourage each other to dummy down when we think we have to break through walls or muscle our way through it, because God works through love, through us making the loving choice, making the joyful choice, making actually the easy choice to have the conversation, not because we think, oh, now I know, I'm going to start having conversations with everyone around me. No, it's like just being open to lovingly communicating with the people around us, because then God puts us together in the most amazing of ways. Because sometimes when you force yourself into a situation where you think like networking or whatever, that room is actually full of just desperation and people who are afraid. Oftentimes there's more energy of this isn't going to happen in those rooms. But when you go about your day and just live the richness of the coffee shop you love or the job you're already in, that's when God has the easiest route, because it's like you're a unique person, and it's like easier for God to find you, I think, in those situations.
Perfect example, if you're listening to this episode for the first time or you're watching on YouTube, go to unity.fm where you could see all our episodes, or subscribe to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed on iTunes.
Yes.
And I encourage you to listen to the episode titled In God We Trust.
That's right.
Because there is a story by the founder and innovator of Sportkini, where she actually shares, rather than going out trying to do all this muscling to meet big shots who can help her with her business and encourage her, she decided to surrender all that and go to her favorite coffee shop.
Yeah.
And you'll hear all about how that turned into an incredible Funniest Thing.
Yeah, and that's what this is all about. So thank you for tuning in to this live from the Camaro, Funniest Thing Camaro weekend edition of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
That's right. And you could, like I just said, find us on YouTube, which you already have. Listen to us on unity.fm.
If you like it, you can subscribe to us on iTunes. I think you mentioned that. And if you really like it, make a comment, or if you have anything to say about the show, make a comment about the show on iTunes, because that really will help our show reach a broader audience, because more people will see it when they go on iTunes, and it shows up like people who like this also like this, so it'll just keep the ball rolling. And help us continue to do what we love.
And if we see it, we'll probably read it on the air.
That's another thing. We light up anytime anyone makes a comment. Twitter at Darrell and Ed. That's another place you can find us.
Facebook. We have a Funniest Thing fan page, which is Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed on Facebook.
Yeah, and Darrell is Darrell.
That's right, just like the vampire slayer in True Blood.
Right, not Buffy.
No, but I still love Buffy.
Yes. All right. Anything else?
No. Sayonara.
Darrell and Ed love you.
Yes, we do.
Your message from...
Thank you for listening to The Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Listen in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central as these unlikely saints share more real-life stories of how surrendering to divine order always leads to better-than-expected outcomes. This program has been made possible by God through automated monthly transfers from Darrell and Ed's credit cards.